Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving my review for Wicked. This is a film that I honestly didn't have interest in really watching just to start when it was announced and came to theaters, but I was basically bombarded with so much Wicked TikToks and stuff that I finally just had to see it for myself because I do love The Wizard of Oz now. Granted, this is not even in the same time frame, the same realm as The Wizard of Oz. But I figured let's check it out. I wanted to see the differences. And I want to start out by saying a few things. Obviously, the play and this movie is not even fully accurate to the book. And I know that's been a big thing where people who's not read the book have picked the book up, sometimes some for their children to read, and they realize that they changed quite a bit to make the stage play and this movie. I'm assuming, from what the director, I think he said it was the stage play, both stage play and movie.
Inappropriate things.
Yeah, there was a lot of the book's actually a lot more inappropriate, not for kids, darker.
Sexual.
Yeah. So that right there tells me, that it kind of aggravates me because I hate when they completely butcher or change everything from book to story. I would love to have seen this more true to the book. I mean, we've already got a musical that isn't, as far as I'm aware, isn't true complete to the book, because I know the author of the book said he only signed off for them to make the movie and play because they stayed true to the message, even though it was given in a completely different way, more family friendly way. So that right there kind of bugs me. I get tired. I wish we could just get something that sticks true to the subject matter that they're bringing it, taking it from. But I have seen so much of people, I guess, thinking that the Wizard of Oz is basically the story before Wicked, and while it's supposed to be, the Wizard of Oz we know and might have watched for all this time is not connected with Wicked. That's a completely different Wizard of Oz that's connected to the wonderful Wizard of Oz book, and not Wicked. So all these comparisons of Bach and all these from the Wicked Part 1 movie, makes no sense for when people are trying to, or sitting here comparing them and acting like they're the same characters, because they're not technically the same characters. And even when you watch the movie, when you watch Wicked Part 1, you go back and watch Wizard of Oz, you could tell it's the same. They're different style. They're different characters in two different films. Wizard of Oz is a film in itself. It has no correlation with the Wicked film. The people making Wicked Part 1 and 2, they would have to literally make their own Wizard of Oz to connect it to the Wicked films, so it would make sense to that timeline. You have to kind of think of The Wizard of Oz and Wicked as two different timelines, kind of like in what you have to with like franchises like Halloween and stuff like that, where there's sometimes it's the same characters, but they're in their own timeline, and that's what the Wizard of Oz is. It's the same characters, but they're in their own timeline. They're not the same timeline as Wicked. So, you know, just need to remember that. Don't get them confused. But also, two other things. The character of Nessa Rose. I've seen a lot of people posting how she's the biggest villain in part one, that they can't wait for the house to be dropped on her. They just like hate her. And after watching part one, I don't see why yet that you would feel that way. I don't think they've done near enough. Honestly, they could have done more with her character in part one. But I don't feel like we've gotten to that point yet where we should be making her the most hated character in the movie. Yes, she got mad and embarrassed when Elphaba, had her up in the air and pulled her back when the teacher was wheeling her away, or the principal, whatever she was wheeling her away, and she was trying to stop her because she likes being independent. Anybody would get embarrassed and mad about that. The only part really that kind of was kind of mean was when she was kind of laughed a little bit when Elphaba was getting made fun of at the dance, or the party, whatever. But they've not really established her character enough, and that is part of my review for the part of my issue for the movie, is they've not really established her character any. I feel like they really underused her in the first film, especially considering how long the first film, the part one is. So, to me, saying that just makes no sense at this point in the movie. And this is probably the most controversial thing I want to talk about, but I have no issue with gay romances being in movies. No issue at all with that. But why do we have to make something out of nothing? I've seen so many people want Elphaba and Glinda to be a couple, and say that they act like they're in love and all this kind of stuff. It's like, can't just two people be very best friends or close friends without it being more? It's, to me, it would feel forced if you did that with Glinda and Elphaba, or if they did do that, which I'm assuming they probably won't, because would guess that does not how it goes in the story. But trying to stop making something out of nothing. Like, let people be friends. We complain all the time in real life how can't guys and girls just be friends without it being more? Let's think of that the same way when it comes to our movies, and stop trying to push for things to happen that isn't going to happen or doesn't need to happen just because you want it to. But anyways, this movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes long. The entire play is without the intermission of 15 minutes is 2 hours and 30 minutes long. So part 1 is already longer than the entire play itself is. To me, this part 1 does not need to be as long as it is. I felt the runtime badly. There was times throughout this thing where I'm like, okay, can we pick up the pace a little bit? Like, what are you really giving us? Because they said they made it longer because they wanted to build more with Glinda and Elphaba and all these characters, but I just felt like, in general, I don't feel like we really, for me, I don't feel like we did anything special other than just make the movie longer than it needed to be. There was a couple of songs I felt like didn't need to be in there. The one that Jeff Goldblum sings to me was just unneeded, and the one that I think his name is how do you say his name? I have issues with his name. Pharaoh, P or Fiyero. His song when they're in the library, I guess it was. To me, that song it was unneeded. I mean, you got a few Easter eggs thrown in there, but other than that, to me the song just was unneeded. But you spend all this time, and I really just feel like, okay, like I said earlier, Nesta Rose's character, I don't feel like we spent enough time with her. I felt like she was overlooked a lot in this one. And by the end of it, when they're at the train station, they and she takes off, I didn't really feel that emotion because they didn't really give us enough to feel that emotion. Bach, I don't feel like we spent enough time with him in part 1 to really get to know him better, get to really understand him. Neither did we with, in my opinion, anyways, for me with the Pharaoh, whatever his name is. Never felt like we did enough with him.
You realize these are things that you should have expected in a 3-hour movie.
It's like they try to spend more time on Glinda and Elphaba, but in doing so, it just made the movie feel 10 times longer because I didn't need that much exposition on Glinda and Elphaba. I mean, I didn't. For me personally. The songs, for me, none of them really were that amazing until you get to Defying Gravity, and honestly, I didn't really feel any emotion towards that song, any power towards that song, until she comes back up on the broom after she jumps out the window, and she really hits that hard, part of that high part of the song. Then I felt a little bit. I was like, okay, I feel a little power behind it. But, now I'm not a huge Wicked fan. I'm not in the Wicked fandom like a lot of people are that's watched this movie. So the emotions probably aren't going to hit me the same, and that's fine. I've seen people complain because people ain't feeling the emotion, and some people ain't going to feel the emotion. Who cares? They don't have to feel the same thing you feel watching this movie. It's just like people wanting to go to the theaters and belt out the songs when you're around people that are just there to watch the movie. You know, you got to be respectful. You got to be know that you are watching a film that not everybody is going to feel the same way you do about. But I do think the cinematography, set design, costume design, acting, the choreography, I think all that is great in this film. I do. I think it all worked out really great. It looked beautiful. I think the story was there, just overly long, as I already stated. But I'll probably watch part two because I want to see where they go. Because I want to know, kind of where. I already know where it's going, but I want to see it unfold. And if they decide to do their own Wizard of Oz in the Wicked world, in the Wicked timeline, then hey, that's great if they decide they want to do it. But because they already teased it, kind of spoiler there, they already teased it in the first 10 seconds of the movie that it could be possible to do it. But it's just, will they do it? Who knows? But we'll see after Wicked 2, but Wicked Part 1 for me was a 3.5. Very solid score. Honestly, it was higher than I expected it to be for me. I'm not a huge musical fan. There's some I like The Wizard of Oz, The Greatest Showman. Certain ones I do like. But, so this one is higher than I expected it to be. But, still nothing for me personally overly amazing. Nothing in my top 10 to 5 of the year. I think it lands at excuse me, as of right now, at number 17. So it's in the top 20 as of right now. But nothing, that I'm going to be freaking out over for days to come. Unless it's just me getting mad because of all the the TikToks and stuff I see of people trying to act like Wizard of Oz and Wicked's in the same timeline. Same universe. But, and of course, getting mad because people ain't loving it and wanting it to, feeling that emotion. But yeah, I think, that's pretty much everything. I think I'm gone long enough. This is one of my longest reviews in a while, I think, at 18 minutes. But, just be respectful. Whether the person likes this movie, whether they don't like the movie, whether they feel the emotion, whether they don't feel the emotion. Be respectful. And like I said, know your facts about things, which I've watched a lot. I've looked a lot. Watched the author of the Wicked books interview. So, yeah, that is everything for my review for Wicked Part 1. So please come like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified for our videos, and we'll see you on the next one.